flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Note for the record that all council members are present.
Thank you. Adoption of the agenda. I understand the city attorney would like to add an item C, and I think it's an agreement regarding security for performance. Is that right?
That's correct.
On the new business. I'm sorry. Yes. Are there any other additions?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the agenda as amended. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, commendation and proclamations. The first commendation is honoring KTSF TV on their 30th anniversary. Is there anybody here from KTS? All right. And this commendation reads, on behalf of the Brisbane City Council on this date, October 16, 2006, we commend KTSF TV on their 30th anniversary. We are honored to have the country's largest Asian language television station in our community and wish you continued success in the future.
Very glad to.
Thank you so much. Thanks from everyone.
Say a few words if you wish.
Well, very few.
Thanks on behalf of our ownership, our management team, and all of the staff at KTSF for honoring our 30 years on the air. In about a year and a half, we will be celebrating 20 years in Brisbane. So it's been a pleasure, and thank you so much.
Thank you. The next is a proclamation declaring November the 9th Lung Cancer Awareness Day. Proclamation of the City Council. Whereas lung cancer is the leading cause of cancer death for both men and women, accounting for 28% of all cancer deaths. Lung cancer kills more people annually than breast cancer, prostate cancer, colon cancer, liver cancer, melanoma, and kidney cancer combined. Whereas since the National Cancer Act of 1971, Public Law 92-218, coordinated and comprehensive research has elevated the 5-year survival rates for breast cancer to 87%, for prostate cancer to 99%, and colon cancer to 64%. Whereas the survival rate for lung cancer is still only 15%, and a similar coordinated and comprehensive research effort is required to achieve increases in lung cancer survivability rates. Whereas 60% of lung cancer is now diagnosed in non-smokers and former smokers. Whereas 2/3 of non-smokers diagnosed with lung cancer are women. Whereas certain minority populations, such as African American males, have disproportionately high rates of lung cancer incidence and mortality, notwithstanding their lower smoking rate. Whereas members of the baby boomer generation are entering in their 60s, the most common age for development of cancer. Whereas tobacco addiction and exposure to other lung cancer carcinogens such as Agent Orange and other herbicides and battlefield emissions are serious problems among military personnel and war veterans. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Brisbane proclaims November the 9th as Lung Cancer Awareness Day, and be informed about lung cancer facts by visiting the A Breath Away from the Cure Foundation website, www.abreathawayfromacure.org. And City Clerk will take the proclamation. Thank you. And the next order of business is a commendation recognizing Peninsula Conflict Resolution Center on their 20th anniversary. On behalf of the Brisbane City Council on this day, October 16th, we commend the Peninsula Conflict Resolution Center on their many years of dedicated and valuable service to the City of Brisbane and its residents, and upon occasion of their 20th anniversary. Is there anyone here from that? Would you take care of that too, please? Thank you.
Resolving conflicts.
Okay, next order of business, oral communications number 1, opportunity for members of the public to address the council matters not on the agenda. Go ahead, please.
Good evening, I'm Wayne Hendricks. I'm a longtime resident of Brisbane. I live up at 790 Humboldt. And First of all, I'd like to thank all the city staff for all the hard work you consistently do for us, and of course the City Council and the Planning Commission for all your dedication. I really appreciate it. I mean this very sincerely. You guys do a lot of hard work on our behalf and not very often recognized, at least out loud. And I'd like to say thank you very much from the bottom of my heart for the work you guys do for the quality of our life in Brisbane. Now,
However,
no, really. The reason I come before you is I've got a little bit of a statement and I've got a question for the staff. I attended the Corey Housing, what would it be called? It wasn't a debate, it was a presentation, I guess is what it was called. And there were a lot of unanswered questions from my perspective. And I know I'm coming in very late in the game here, and I don't know how much public debate there's been or discussion, really. I'm sure it came before the Planning Commission lots and lots of times, and no question it's been before you guys a lot of times. But I also would like to thank the League of Women Voters for very gently but firmly guiding the process. I think they did a very adroit job for a very complicated issue and a lot of very heated emotions there as well. The core developer had a golden opportunity, I feel, to present his side of the issue there. He was able to make a very grand statement about it. And, of course, the people against it were able to rebut it. But as I listened to Mr. Poole's golden rhetoric, I had several questions I wanted to ask him that he would have been compelled to answer on television. And of the maybe 5 questions I submitted, only one of them really made it through the filtration process of the League of Women Voters. They have to make it succinct and make sure they aren't redundant and whatnot. And the one question I did ask him, he very, very adroitly stepped around. He didn't answer. He didn't even really address it. He just went on with all the wonderful things he was going to do for the city of Brisbane, which I guess that's his job to do. But still, I felt he was handed a golden opportunity to present his side on television. And I would like to see a situation where we could ask him questions in a similar format, a little more directly. I'm sure it would end up being a typical Brisbane challenging event, but I'd still like the opportunity. I feel that this is a huge issue, a huge question that's coming before the city of Brisbane, and I, for one, am just now looking at the realities of some of the sides of it. And, personally, I obviously am not totally for this idea. I mean, I'm sure you guys saw the sign outside that got posted on my building today, but still, I'm not convinced that it's, the worst thing that could ever happen. So I'd like the better opportunity to get a sense of maybe the upside that maybe I'm not seeing. I don't know. I've talked to a couple of different people about the quality of life as well as the expense, the long-term expense that would be encumbered by this proposed idea. So my question to you is, will there be some other forum or format that we could discuss this? More people could come forth and ask Mr. Poole or whoever about the long-term effects and the liabilities and some of the more, to me, the obvious questions. I mean, is it between now and 3-4 weeks before the election, 3 weeks, I'm just wondering, are there going to be other opportunities to put Mr. Poole's feet to the fire?
Yes, sir.
What I would suggest is that you get his telephone number and email address from Sherry or Clay or whoever has it, and that you put those questions to him one-on-one. I don't think there are any other events scheduled.
Because like I said, when I sat there in the audience, I had a number of questions I would have liked to ask him because he shot from the hip. I know I'm just a simple layman that he had to dumb down to talk to. That's what he said in front of all of us on television. And I thought that was like I said, I feel that he was handed a golden opportunity to talk on television to all the residents of Brisbane. And I think it'd be only fair for the rest of Brisbane to be able to, put his feet to the fire publicly and have these questions answered publicly. I mean, I think it's fair. So I just thought I'd toss up an idea. I have a lot of ideas and a lot of questions, and I don't know if any of them are good or if they'll stick to the wall, but I think it's fair to ask the question.
Well, I'd definitely put the questions to him.
Yeah, but I mean, if he and I aren't off on the side talking to each other on email, the rest of the city is not going to hear what's said.
You can circulate it.
Okay, well, thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Wayne. Is that the only question you had, Wayne?
Yeah. have the opportunity that he had.
Yeah. Yeah, because I don't know anything that anybody else is doing on either side, publicly debating it or anything like that. You know. I know.
He said it was fast-paced. There was only a certain amount of time, and he had ample time to present his side. And a lot of people in the audience, I know one person gave 10 questions, and none of which were actually addressed.
Right.
They could have been, fractured questions or whatever. Who knows? But Brisbane would like to put their feet in the fire, see if it roasts well or not.
Yeah.
My take on it, I think he'd welcome your questions and a chance to talk to you personally. I understand what you're saying.
Maybe
Yeah.
he would. I didn't get that sense from him.
No.
No. When I saw him, when I listened to him, he came across as condescending, and like I said, he said he had trouble explaining this to laymen. But he tried. And I'm thinking, who do you think you're talking to?
Layman.
I managed to struggle through.
Thank you for your comments, man. Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, next order of business is approval of payment registers. Any questions? I think I have a couple. One.
Page.
Oh, you want? Okay. Anyone else? All right. Stuart, on page 15. Yeah, last item on the bottom. It's a reimbursement. Okay, for $1,005 to an employee or to a dentist or to an employee. And then on page 18. The third item down is the same money amount and to the same individual, but what's happening here? It's exactly the same amount of money. That's what got me curious.
I believe it's for orthodontia. I'll get back to you on that.
Okay.
I think what it was is like, a portion went to the individual who had to make a payment earlier, and then a payment to the dentist. I'll get back to you.
Oh yeah, please do. And then if it's a duplication, would you correct
right.
it accordingly?
Yep.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Yes, sir.
On page 12, there's an item for a Scorpion truck mounted attenuator. What's that?
I'll take that, Stu. Sir, you've seen on the back of Caltrans trucks those big yellow crash barriers that they have that are mobile?
Okay.
That's a Scorpion mounted attenuator.
Ah. And there's an item on page 14 for installing motion sensor light switches. And I'm just curious where. It's about the fourth item down on page 16.
16.
16 or 14?
16.
16.
At the marina.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other questions? No?
Move approval of payment register.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much.
That's payment register 1295.
That's correct, sir. Sorry about that. What's your pleasure on the consent calendar?
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much. New business, item A, consider introduction of ordinance number 516, waiving first reading, amending the provision of section 1224.010 concerning modification of street standards. The staff report will be by
I'll take it.
city attorney, okay?
Basically, we're going back to what we had before. As you may recall, the city engineer historically has had the authority to modify street standards, and then a couple years ago, those decisions were moved to the city council, and then on further consideration of the issue, it was the traffic committee felt that we probably should go back to where we were before. There have been a couple of these items that have come to the council, and I think by and large the council has ratified the decision of the city engineer, because we're basically dealing with engineering types of questions in terms of how much of a street can reasonably be fitted within the available space. So the recommendation is that the city engineer be given the authority to modify the street standards, but any of those decisions could be appealed to the city council if either on the council's own initiative, I expect, or if any other interested person is interested in having the council review the matter. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Question?
That was
Yes, sir.
That was one of the actually the public right-of-way committee that both Steve and I are on. One of the things was, we're looking at it by coming to the council, it's like it almost seemed like there's no in between. That the city engineer has done this in the past, and then the staff generates a lot of reports and stuff like that. But by having the council review it right away, there's no way to review it or appeal it. It's like, here it is, and it's come before the council, where if a person doesn't agree with the city engineer, it just makes good public sense where they can actually appeal it to the council and then look at it from that sense. And it just didn't seem like it was functioning right. So
Okay.
anyway, that's our recommendation.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Item B, provide direction to staff as deemed necessary and appropriate for resolution of the encroachments into the public right-of-way on 500 block of Humboldt Road right-of-way.
Mayor Pro Tem, council members, good evening. Staff report with a lot of pictures for you, a lot of coloring in the city engineer's office as we're putting this together. The gist of what we were trying to explain to you in here is that at the intersection of Humboldt Road and San Mateo Lane, we have sort of an awful mess. We have two houses that encroach well within the public right-of-way, and I'll refer you to enclosure 1 in your staff report, where you can see on there that everything that's colored in red is within the public right-of-way. So two homes, literally one home, the entire kitchen is in the right-of-way, and the gentleman's entire carport is in the right-of-way. The problem that's caused for us is staff is put in the awkward position of when these homeowners come in and apply for a ministerial permit, we're forced to deny the permit, because that only exacerbates the situation. That only extends the amount of time that these homes are going to be in the public right-of-way. So we're in this awkward position of hoping that these homes are going to eventually decay their way out of the right-of-way. Fortunately, both of the parties involved have come to a recognition of this. They went out and at their own cost had a survey commissioned, and they approached the city and they said, is there some way that we can work our way out of this? Is there some way to get beyond this, so that our homes can be on private property and the city can have its public right-of-way and we can work our way through this? So the concept that I've generally tried to show you in here establishes that goal. Part of the problem that we have out there is that when the roadway was put in however many decades ago, the portion that's shown in green on enclosure 2 is actually a prescriptive easement. In other words, what has happened is the public roadway has been put over someone's private property decades ago without their permission. So we don't have their formal written agreement to that today. What I'm proposing to do to solve this problem is a joint effort where we would obtain formal acknowledgement of the prescriptive agreement or the prescriptive easement from the homeowners on the uphill side of the road. We would then create a 30-foot wide public right-of-way, which of course requires a 4/5 council. It's a supermajority vote that you have to take a right-of-way to that. And we would then offer the remainder, and the remainder being that portion shown, it's a yellow-green color on enclosure 4. That remainder portion would then be offered to the two homeowners on the downhill side of the road. And what that would do is it would get all of their property, it would get all of their home, all of their residents, to be on private property. It would give the city a 30-foot wide right-of-way, which is acceptable pursuant to the Streets and Highways Code and pursuant to our own municipal code, and it would solve this mess so that we could move forward and not have folks worrying about whether or not they could get permits to do remodels and such on their home. As I talk about it in the staff report, the homeowners are generally amenable. There are certainly some discussion points that they would want to go through with us on for the agreement. There's a small amount, I'm thinking in the terms of $10,000 to $20,000 perhaps, of curb and gutter work that needs to be done to realign this road so that it fits the new 30-foot wide alignment. And we would expect that would be the exchange, you will. That would be the valuable consideration that we would expect the homeowners to offer to us so that we are going to quit claim and give the public right-of-way to them. And that's certainly what we've suggested. And for your consideration this evening, I'm just presenting to you a concept plan. I've discussed this with the Public Right-of-Way Subcommittee. They were generally amenable to it. But before we went off and did the trouble of engaging these homeowners surveyor and asked them to come up with legal descriptions and sketches and start drafting agreements and have them sign agreements and obtaining estimates on construction costs, I wanted to make sure that a majority of the council thought that we were heading in the right direction, and that if you had particular guidance for me, I'd like to hear it at this time so that I can roll it into the agreement so that when we bring this back to you, we have some reasonable expectation that this will be a completed item and that we can move on. So I'd be happy to answer questions.
Questions for the engineer?
When you say the parties are amenable, Randy, we're talking about the ones at 501 and 525?
Yes, sir.
And then also 500 across the street?
Talked to the gentleman at 500 and 500A. The last conversation we'd had with him, he just, as a matter of due diligence, he wanted to refer the matter to his city attorney. As I indicated in the staff report, to his city attorney, his attorney. I'm sorry.
To Hal?
Not to Hal. And Hal gave him good advice. That seems, move forward. Yeah, it's a good thing. As I indicated in the staff report, we're certainly trying to work with everyone on this. We're not trying to take people's property on this, but we've already discussed the matter with the city attorney, and he's issued a preliminary opinion that we have a pretty solid prescriptive easement there. It would be pretty easy for us to take that matter through the legal process and have it formalized. We'd rather not do it that way. We'd rather do it where we have two parties willingly come together over an agreement. And we have discussed some sort of terms with that homeowner about the removal of two interfering eucalyptus trees that are public trees that we could take out of there for him. That to me, that strikes me as a small amount to offer him.
But that's my only concern. Indicated at the meeting that we had that I think this is actually a very good plan. But we want all parties really, I think, to be amenable and not have to exercise that portion from the city, because we don't want to get into that legal stuff and then people running around, oh, the city's stealing my property, or that type of thing. But it's a good way to work out, I think, for both the homeowners at 501 and 525, because otherwise, I'm not sure how these houses are actually even sold. With somebody, that's a disclosure thing that, hey, you can do this or do that to your house. Oh, no, you can't.
I've had contact with at least one of the title companies on this matter. And preliminary conversations to that title company has been, well, the only thing you can do is remove the house from the public right-of-way. And that's your option. But we're trying to come up with something different. And I don't think that's what any of us here want to do. I don't think that's certainly not the intent of anyone on staff. It's not the desire of homeowners. It's not the desire of any parties. Sure. When we have a reasonable solution, we'd like to move forward. But I agree with you. It's unfortunate that there's certainly a possible outcome that one of the three or four parties in this may decide at the last moment that they are not so amenable anymore. And then the whole rectification of this situation falls apart unless we are prepared to take some certain steps. Yeah. And that, I just have to forewarn you of that a little bit, that it could happen.
Right.
The important thing is you're taking what I think is a reasonable negotiating step with everyone's interests in mind, and hopefully they will agree, and that'll be that.
We're trying,
I think it's a very creative way to, eliminate a problem and issues.
Thank you.
Okay.
So this would just be So then, if I could put it in terms that I understand, this would be basically selling a strip of the road on the odd numbered side of the street to those homeowners for the cost of putting in the new curb and street and demolishing the carport.
Correct. In preparation of the legal sketches and exhibits and such to transfer that, yes, sir.
So they're paying for a street improvement, but they're at the same time actually acquiring more property and making their homes actually be on private property rather than in a public street. No, I think it's a great solution.
If we're making it more valuable.
Yeah.
Right. But I just want to make sure that I understand that it's we're not forcing the homeowners to improve the street for other reasons. They're actually improving the street and then getting property for it as well, and taking their houses out of public property and putting them on private property in that process.
Yes.
It's a fair statement, yes, sir.
It's a tremendous solution. I'm glad the homeowners came to the city and with the survey, actually.
Yes, sir. So am I. It was very prudent of them to do that. We're glad that they're taking steps forward and they recognize that they've got a situation, they want to correct it, and we've been working together quite well.
Right, I'm glad the city is working with that.
Okay. Is that all the direction you need?
Yes, sir. I've got a general sense that the council seems to be on board with the direction, and you don't have any specific guidance for me in the matter, so we'll proceed.
Thank you, sir. Item C, agreement regarding security for performance. City Attorney.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Universal Paragon Corporation has received approval from the Regional Water Quality Control Board to conduct some remediation work along the drainage channel and other areas that's on their property on the Baylands. This includes wetlands, and because there would be some damage to the wetland area caused by the remediation work, the Army Corps of Engineers has required a mitigation plan, which has been prepared, submitted, and approved, and permits have been issued now to proceed with the work. The condition of the permit is that UPC put up $1,700,000 as security for performance of the work. For reasons I don't quite understand, the Army Corps of Engineers doesn't want to hold the security. They preferred the city hold it. So what this agreement is basically the city agreeing to take custody of a letter of credit, which we already have, payable to us in the amount of $1,700,000. And our only function is to hold the letter of credit, and if we get a directive from the Corps of Engineers to draw it down, meaning there's been some default in the performance of the remediation plan or the mitigation plan, we simply draw down the letter and give them the money or pay it in whatever manner they may direct. So we basically have no responsibility other than to act as custodian and for safekeeping of the letter of credit. So we're basically acting as an accommodation party here to assist the Corps of Engineers in the implementation of the mitigation plan. So the agreement that's been distributed tonight is between the city and UPC that simply provides for them to post the letter, which they have already done, and for us to hold it until the Corps says it's okay to release it. We don't want this dragging on for too long, so if we haven't heard anything within 24 months, we can voluntarily elect to, terminate the arrangement. But I think the reason I have it on the agenda tonight is they're scrambling to start the work before the rainy season, so I do think it should be finished well before the 24 months. But in any event, this is just one of the formalities needed for the mitigation plan. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I have one.
Yes, sir.
So this actually kind of keeps us in the loop then of what the progress is being made on that also, right?
Yes, yeah.
So that's a good thing.
Well, we would be keeping track of it anyway, but it does put us in an interesting position of holding the security and the city being the only one who can draw down the security. What the agreement does say, however, is that by doing this, we're not assuming the responsibility for the enforcement of the mitigation plan. We're not taking over a regulatory position that is, within the purview of the Regional Water Quality Control Board and the Army Corps of Engineers. Nevertheless, we are at the table because we're holding the security, so it does give us a better line of information in terms of what's going on out there.
Mm-hmm. And what you're looking for tonight is a motion approving the mayor signing the agreement.
Correct.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much, sir. Next order, staff report. City manager's report on upcoming activities.
There's two items tonight, Mr. Mayor. The first is just a reminder that on Saturday evening at 7 p.m. we will be having the 45th City of Brisbane anniversary party up at Mission Blue for people who have children and need daycare for that, or I guess maybe night care is a better way of saying it. That will be available here at the community center. And we will also be doing a shuttle from City Hall for people up to the Mission Blue Center, back and forth.
Great.
The second item.
What's on the menu?
What? Sherry.
Delicious food.
Delicious food.
All right.
And ample drink. I sent this out to you earlier today, but I think for anybody that's listening tonight, they're going to see some activity taking place up on San Bruno Mountain. We're going to be having CDF, California Division of Forestry crews, will be up on the mountain doing erosion control work on the burn lines that were established during the Brisbane Acres wildland fire back in mid-August. There will be bulldozers up on the site, operators, and then there will also be hand crews. And that work will be starting sometime this week. I'm not quite sure what the length of time, but I would imagine it might be a week or two of work before they're done.
When you say bulldozers, what are they doing?
Well, it says they will have a dozer and an operator on site to lay back berms created along the ridge trail and to select locations around the periphery of the burn.
That's the trail that's already established. It kind of acted as a fire break.
As the fire break itself, yeah. That's it.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mayor, council matters, subcommittee reports. Any? No? How about provide direction of staff on appointment process? Interviews held for new recruitment for new open space ecology member due to resignation of Elizabeth Gaffney. What's the council's pleasure?
Excuse me just a moment. I just wanted to remind you that back in May, you interviewed 6 candidates and liked most of them or all of them that evening and had to select just one. So I wanted some direction on whether you would like to review those applications again or whether I should start a new recruitment process.
I think actually Michael and I met with the Open Space and Ecology committee last Wednesday night, and this had come up, and just some ideas. I think what we tell them would probably look at opening it back up, just to be consistent with what we've done before in the past, and recommend just opening it back up, and if those people who have applied before can reapply.
Is that agreeable with everyone?
Works for me.
Okay. Yeah, works for me. Thank you. And I was going to add this item to the agenda, I forgot, to tell you the truth. And I was approached by someone who was interested in starting a history committee. Apparently there's so much information here that is either lost or we spent a lot of time, a couple of years collecting it, and we don't know what the status of it is, and there may be other areas in town that we might want to preserve as part of our heritage. So if you're interested in that, we'll certainly agendize the item in the future. I don't know what history committees do.
Didn't we have something of in archives, and what's the history on that?
the history on the history?
Oh, the archivist?
The history on the gathering of the history? We did have an archivist that worked for us, I think, one day a week up until, I think, 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. Actually, recently, in terms of our internship program, Stuart and I have been contemplating the idea of trying to get a college student in an internship next summer to work on our historical archive program. So that might fit in with what the mayor is suggesting. Maybe need to think that through a little bit, but certainly I think we see a need to kind of ramp up our effort in that area. And then also you've got your 50th anniversary coming up in 5 years. You may recall you had a fairly significant work that was done in terms of the book on the first 25 years of incorporation. And it seems like it might be a good time to update that book, or it's really more than updating it at this point. It's really kind of writing
next 25 years.
writing a new volume to it. So, and of course, I mean that would take a different level of effort. We'd have to hire somebody to come in and do that. And I understand there was a committee that worked with that author to put together that book. So I think there's a number of things in that area that it's probably timely to start taking a look at.
Good. Okay, so would you look that over?
Yeah, what we maybe can do is bring back a staff report in the next couple of meetings and kind of just lay out the different issues that are going on and the options you might want to look at.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good. Thank you very much. Excellent. Well, communication is number 2, and an opportunity for members of the public to address the council matters not on the agenda. I don't see anyone wishing to address the council. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Did we break the